If a woman can look you in the eye, call you insecure, disrespect your boundaries, compare you to her ex, mock your emotions, and still have you apologizing, this video is for you. You've spent too long doubting your gut, negotiating with disrespect, shrinking your standards to avoid conflict. You've mistaken chaos for passion, manipulation for love, and emotional abuse for just how women are. And you tell yourself it's normal, that real men endure, that if you stay calm, if you're patient, she'll finally see your worth. But she won't, because she's never been confused about your worth. She just knows you don't see it yet. And until you do, she'll keep using these 8 phrases to bend you, silence you, break you. But not anymore. This is the video that pulls the mask off her tactics, one by one, and hands you the map back to your peace. You'll learn why she says, what it's really doing to your identity, and how to stop dancing for validation and start walking in truth. Because the moment you understand what these 8 phrases mean, and what kind of woman uses them, is the moment your life begins again. This isn't about hate, it's about clarity. And that clarity begins with one decision. You no longer abandon yourself to keep her comfortable. This is your initiation into peace, into discipline, into emotional sovereignty. The kind where you don't need to raise your voice to make a point. You don't need revenge. You don't even need closure. Because when a man becomes truly grounded in his values, in his inner stillness, in the kind of peace that isn't shaken by rejection or manipulation, he doesn't chase validation. He attracts respect. And the women who once used these phrases to control him, they no longer even exist in his world. Comment, never again, if you're done tolerating disrespect in the name of love. This is the last video you'll ever need to watch before everything changes. Number 1. If you loved me, you'd do it. When she says this, she isn't asking for love. She's demanding your obedience. She's framing your commitment like a test you were never meant to pass, with the hidden rule that your sacrifice is the only proof of affection she'll accept. But the more you bend, the more she resents you for bending. Because what she's really testing isn't your love, it's your spine. She's watching how quickly you'll compromise your values for her comfort, and the moment you say yes to something that makes you uneasy just to keep her happy, you lose a piece of yourself. And she notices. She doesn't say it, but she feels it. And from that moment, her respect for you quietly dies. This phrase sounds emotional, but it's strategic. It's subtle coercion. It thrives in silence. It gets you to abandon your peace and your plans to chase her validation. And every time you comply, she grows colder, not warmer. Have you noticed? The more you do out of love, the more indifferent she becomes. You show up, you overextend, you kill your goals. And she still says it's not enough, because it was never about love. It was about control. And this is how you get trapped. This is how men become shadows of themselves in relationships that slowly bury their confidence. You stop leading your own life and start living to avoid her disappointment. This is what happens when you believe your love needs to be proven, not lived. But understand this. You don't owe anyone your integrity. You don't prove love by losing yourself. Real connection doesn't require you to betray your own judgment. You are not a pawn in someone else's emotional game. You are not here to perform. You are not here to prove. If love has conditions attached to your peace, it's not love, it's psychological warfare. Learn to pause when you hear this line. Reflect. Ask yourself, do I want to do this? Or am I afraid of what she'll do if I don't? That question alone will set you free. You reclaim your power when you stop responding to threats disguised as intimacy. Because what you allow today becomes her standard tomorrow. And before you know it, you're not in a relationship. You're in a contract where you do all the giving and she does all the taking. Break the cycle. Let her walk if your no offends her. A woman who truly loves you will never put you in a position where you have to betray yourself to keep her. The men who thrive in this world, They don't move from guilt. They move from clarity. They know who they are. They know what they value, and they know when someone's love is just manipulation in disguise. That kind of inner strength, it's unshakable. When you have it, the world and women can't bend you at will because you're already grounded. That is how you take this phrase, and instead of folding under its weight, you use it to rise, to see it for what it is, and to choose yourself, not as an act of defiance, but as a declaration of truth. And if you found yourself bending, breaking, and betraying your own values just to keep a relationship alive, then it's time to reclaim your mind, your voice, and your boundaries. That's exactly why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, a powerful guide grounded in the timeless principles that built unshakable men long before modern confusion. This isn't just another ebook. It's your anchor, your roadmap, your permission to never lose yourself again in the name of love. Inside, you'll learn how to lead without controlling, feel without being manipulated, and walk away from emotional games without guilt. Once you get it, it's yours forever. No expiry, no subscription, just pure truth you can revisit anytime life tests you again. The link is in the comments. And the version of you who reads it, he never begs, he never chases, he leads. In peace. Number 2, my ex was better at. There's no greater insult to a man building something with intention than hearing this kind of emotional grenade tossed into the middle of the relationship. Not as feedback, but as punishment. She's not trying to inform you. She's trying to undermine you. And this phrase does damage beyond the words themselves, because it opens a loop in your mind. Now, you begin to question things that were never a problem before. How you speak, how you show affection, how you handle money. You start comparing yourself to a ghost, and in doing so, you abandon your own uniqueness, trying to win against a man who isn't even present. But here's the hard truth. She brings up her ex because she wants to remind you that you're replaceable. She's hoping to install insecurity into your identity. Not because she wants you to improve, but because she wants you to perform. There's a difference. Improvement is mutual. Performance is transactional. And a woman who truly respects you would never play this game, because she understands that comparison isn't love. It's emotional sabotage. The moment you start seeing yourself through the lens of not enough, you begin to behave like a man who's already lost. You overcompensate. You chase her approval. You start tiptoeing around every conversation, hoping she'll validate you again. And she never does, because she doesn't need to. She has control now. You're hooked. But let's pull back for a second. A man grounded in stoic clarity doesn't internalize insults from someone too emotionally unstable to let go of her past. He observes the situation. He recognizes the bait, and he doesn't take it. He doesn't fight for position against another man in her memory. He doesn't argue to be better than her ex. He walks away because he knows that if a woman still lives in yesterday, she's not capable of building tomorrow. This is your wake-up call. If she's bringing up her ex, she's telling you where her loyalty lies, and it's not with you. And if your first instinct is to prove her wrong, then you've already handed her the power. You are not here to prove you're better than someone who didn't work out. You're here to live a life that doesn't tolerate comparison as communication. And yes, this is where many men fail, because they make the mistake of thinking they can outperform trauma. But you can't fix someone's past by breaking yourself in the present. You can't erase her ex by trying harder. You only lose yourself faster. The men who walk away in peace, they're not angry, they're awake. They know that when a woman brings up her ex like that, it's not a test, it's a verdict. She's already checked out emotionally, and no amount of effort will change that. So what do? You stop taking emotional bait from women who use the past to punish the present. You rise in silence, you cut the tie, and you double down on your path. You don't go backward, you don't beg, you build, you grow. You become so rooted in who you are that the idea of chasing her approval becomes laughable. And as you do this, something happens. You begin to attract peace, not problems, respect, not resistance, a future, not fragments of someone else's past. That's how you take this insult and use it as fuel, not to prove something to her, but to remember something about you. You were never meant to be someone else. You were meant to be more of yourself. And anyone who doesn't honor that, they don't belong in your future. Number 3, you're being insecure. When she says you're being insecure, it's not because you've done something wrong. It's because you've sensed something she doesn't want you to notice. You've picked up on her inconsistency, on the strange tone when she mentions another man's name, on the emotional distance that creeps into her voice when you talk about your future together. And instead of sitting down and clarifying that, instead of offering reassurance or transparency, she flips the script and makes your instinct the problem. Now, instead of trusting your gut, you're defending your sanity. You find yourself doubting your own ability to observe reality. You start thinking, maybe you are too sensitive, maybe it's all in your head, maybe you're just damaged. And that's when the spiral begins. You start apologizing for your boundaries. You downplay your discomfort. You silence your voice to avoid hearing hers accuse you of being fragile. And with every suppressed thought, every ignored red flag, you lose your clarity, your direction, and eventually your self-respect. What she calls insecurity is often your inner compass, screaming for attention, begging you to stop pretending things are fine when they aren't. And when a woman weaponizes the word insecure, she's not helping you grow. She's telling you she has no intention of being emotionally honest with you. She wants you emotionally blind, so she can maintain the upper hand without ever addressing the truth. And here's where the shift happens, when you stop defending yourself and start trusting your observations. You are not a robot. You feel things for a reason. If her behavior triggers discomfort, your job isn't to invalidate yourself. Your job is to observe, stay calm, and act with discipline. That's power. That's clarity. That's living on your terms. A man grounded in calm self-awareness doesn't fight to prove he's not insecure. He simply walks away from situations where emotional gaslighting is the norm, because peace isn't found in the arms of someone who invalidates your emotions. It's found in the discipline of staying aligned with what you know to be true, even when someone calls you crazy for it. And the truth is, many of you have stayed far too long in relationships where every instinct was labeled a flaw. You stayed quiet to be agreeable. You tolerated discomfort just to avoid another argument. You traded truth for harmony and got neither. But that ends the day you decide that your voice matters more than her approval, that your clarity is more valuable than her validation. You don't win by convincing her you're not insecure. You win by trusting yourself enough to leave the moment someone punishes you for feeling. That's how you reclaim your power, not through reaction, through recognition. You stop asking for her understanding and you start honoring your own. And when you do, you'll notice something. Your life gets quieter, cleaner, and more focused. Not because the world changes, but because you finally stop trying to make someone else comfortable at your own expense. That's the beginning of strength. Not loud, not flashy, but grounded, firm, and completely unshakable. Number 4, I don't need a man. When she throws this phrase out like a badge of honor, she's not showing strength. She's covering weakness. Not the kind you mock, the kind that manipulates. Because the louder someone declares they don't need something, the more likely they secretly do. And behind those 5 words is a lifetime of disappointment, resentment, and unchecked bitterness that now gets projected onto every man she meets. She doesn't say it to be independent. She says it to assert dominance, to keep emotional control, and to remind you that you're disposable if you ever stop complying. And if you're not aware, if you take the bait and try to prove your worth, you'll step into the trap willingly. You'll start doing more, giving more, sacrificing more just to earn a place in a life where you're constantly reminded that your presence isn't essential. And that's where most men break, because you start asking yourself, why am I even here if she doesn't value what I bring? But you don't leave, because by then, your self-worth is so wrapped up in trying to earn her softness that you start believing the only way to matter is to over-deliver. But deep down, you know something's off. You know that relationships built on threats of independence aren't rooted in connection. They're rooted in fear. Fear of vulnerability, fear of reliance, fear of actually needing someone and being hurt for it. But that's not your fear. That's hers. And it's not your job to fix it. You are not her therapist. You are not her emotional punching bag. You are a man with a path. And any woman who genuinely respects herself and you will never diminish your presence by acting like your effort is optional. In truth, real independence doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like freedom and cooperation. It invites partnership, not power struggle. But a woman who says she doesn't need a man isn't inviting you to walk beside her. She's daring you to keep up while constantly reminding you that you're replaceable. That's not a relationship. That's a competition. And here's where the Stoic path matters. You don't argue. You don't plead. You don't try to convince her otherwise. You simply observe, you acknowledge, and you walk. Not out of rage, out of respect for yourself. Because a man who knows his value doesn't stay where he's merely tolerated. He aligns his life with people who understand that true connection isn't about dependence. It's about reciprocity. It's not about needing each other. It's about choosing each other daily with intention and integrity. You are not weak for wanting a woman to appreciate your role in her life. You are not controlling for expecting partnership. You are awake. You are discerning. And when you start living from that mindset, you stop trying to prove you're worth keeping, and you start building a life so rich in meaning that anyone who can't value it simply excludes themselves. That's how you flip this line on its head, not by debating her, but by living in a way that makes the truth impossible to ignore, that you were never meant to be someone's emotional punching bag. You were meant to be someone's calm in the storm, not because they need you, but because they respect you enough to never act like they don't. Number 5, you're controlling. This is the phrase she throws out not when you dominate her, but when you finally draw a line. When you say, I don't want to be with someone who goes out till 3 a.m. with guys I don't know. Or, if you're talking to your ex behind my back, that's a deal breaker. Or, I won't be disrespected in front of your friends. Suddenly, you're controlling, not because you are, but because your boundaries threaten her ability to do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, without consequence. In reality, what she wants is full access to your loyalty while giving you none of hers. And when you call it out, when you calmly communicate a limit, she doesn't address the concern, she attacks the principle. She reframes your clarity as manipulation. And you're left confused, asking yourself, was I being too harsh? Am I the problem? But you're not. You're finally standing up for yourself. And what she's doing is classic. She's using the word control as a smoke bomb, a defense mechanism that lets her avoid accountability while keeping you on the defensive. Now you're no longer focused on her behavior. You're too busy trying to prove you're a good man, an understanding partner, someone who's not like the others. But every time you do that, you drift further away from your truth. You become agreeable, not because you agree, but because you're scared of being seen as controlling. And that fear, it paralyzes you. It softens your spine. It makes you silent in moments you should speak. And over time, your silence becomes her permission. She walks all over you, calls it freedom, and you call it love. But it's not. It's compliance under pressure. It's the death of masculine order in the face of emotional chaos. So here's what you do. You get brutally honest about what you stand for. Not what she allows, not what she negotiates, but what you believe in. If her lifestyle doesn't match your principles, you don't argue with her. You align your life away from her. You don't explain that you're not controlling. You don't plead for understanding. You don't beg to be seen correctly. You simply choose not to be in spaces where your values are mocked. And this is what most men don't understand. You're not supposed to adapt to her chaos. You're supposed to bring clarity. And if she can't meet that clarity with cooperation, she's not your partner. She's your opponent. You can't build a future with someone who sees your leadership as a threat. A man grounded in discipline doesn't need to raise his voice. His presence is a boundary. His choices are instructions. His life becomes a statement. And in that silence, in that poise, he sends the loudest message possible. I know who I am, and I won't trade that for anyone's comfort. And when you embody that, you stop attracting women who test your limits just to see how much you'll tolerate. You start attracting women who rise to meet your standards without needing you to lower them first. That's not control, that's clarity. And the moment you realize the difference, your entire reality shifts. Number 6. You'll never find someone like me. This isn't a compliment to herself. It's a warning to you. It's a final attempt to manipulate your fear of the unknown, to chain you to a relationship that's already falling apart, by convincing you that your chances of something better are zero. And most men, when they hear this, freeze. Because deep down, they've been programmed to believe that love is rare, that peace is a myth, that the drama they're enduring is somehow the price of being wanted. So they stay. They convince themselves that enduring disrespect is better than being alone. But let's break it down. If the only reason you stay is because she convinced you no one else will want you, then you're not in a relationship, you're in captivity. And here's what she won't tell you. The man you become when you leave her is the exact man who will attract someone far better. But you'll never see that version of yourself while you're still trying to meet the needs of someone who sees you as disposable. When she says you'll never find someone like her, she's half right. You won't. Because you won't look for someone who weaponizes love, who guilts you into staying, who insults your potential while expecting you to build her dreams. You'll look for someone who inspires peace, not panic. Someone whose love doesn't cost your identity. But first, you need to detach from the lie that she's the best thing that ever happened to you. She's not. She's the lesson. She's the contrast. She's the necessary exposure to what happens when you prioritize chemistry over character, excitement over alignment. And now you get to rebuild. You get to reclaim your standards. You get to reconnect with the version of you that doesn't tolerate emotional threats disguised as compliments. You don't get better by arguing with her. You get better by upgrading your life. And that upgrade starts with accepting that the woman you thought was irreplaceable was just familiar. And that's not the same as valuable. Familiarity feels like connection, but it's really just routine dressed as intimacy. And once you step out of it, once you start living for your own vision, your own goals, your own clarity, you'll see how much of your life you gave away, trying to be good enough for someone who never saw you to begin with. You'll see that the loneliness you feared was actually your body asking for peace, and that silence you were afraid of. That's where you meet yourself again. That's where you hear your thoughts clearly. That's where you reconnect with your power. The version of you who doesn't stay where he isn't respected is the same version who creates a life that commands it. That man doesn't fear the loss of one woman because he's rooted in a life that attracts many, not through games, through growth, not through proving, through presence. And when that man hears, "You'll never find someone like me," he smiles, not out of arrogance but out of understanding. Because now he finally sees that phrase for what it is, not a truth, but a test. One he passes by walking away, head high, heart whole, and eyes focused on a future no woman like her could ever enter. Number 7. I'm just being honest, after being cruel. When she says this after cutting you down, after taking a jab at your appearance, your effort, your goals, your family, or the way you carry yourself as a man, she's not communicating truth. She's covering cruelty with the mask of virtue. This isn't honesty. This is disguised contempt. It's the kind of behavior that fractures your self-worth in slow motion because it's not loud enough to raise alarms, but sharp enough to bleed you dry. And it works because she doesn't yell. She laces her words with passive disdain and then hides behind a smile, calling it just being real. But deep down, it doesn't feel right. You don't walk away feeling clearer. You walk away feeling smaller. And that's the point. She's not speaking to elevate you. She's speaking to break your frame. Because when she makes you question your strength, your voice, your path, it makes her feel powerful. Not because she is, but because she's losing control. And cruelty becomes her weapon of last resort. And this is where most men fold. You justify her jabs. You tell yourself maybe she's just being direct. Maybe she's tough love. Maybe she's trying to help. But love doesn't make you feel like you're never enough. Love doesn't belittle you in public, then call it feedback. Love doesn't find your deepest vulnerabilities and press them under the guise of just being honest. That's not communication. That's warfare. And here's what most men don't understand. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to sit there, nodding, absorbing jabs that sound like advice. A man who values himself recognizes the tone, the pattern, the disrespect, and he doesn't explain why it's wrong. He exits, calmly, completely, without need for closure. Because the moment you start arguing with cruelty, you've already let it frame the conversation. And it wins, not because it's right, but because it has your attention. But when you walk away without defending yourself, without retaliating, you strip the power from her words. You show that your identity isn't on trial, that no one, no matter how close, gets to tear you down and call it love. And that decision changes everything. It reminds you that you're not obligated to stay in any environment where your dignity is on the chopping block. You don't owe loyalty to pain. You owe discipline to your peace. You don't fix this dynamic by becoming emotionally numb. You fix it by refusing to tolerate behavior that chips away at who you are. So next time she says, "I'm just being honest," and it doesn't come with compassion, alignment, or care, understand that she's not trying to connect. She's trying to dominate. And the strongest move you'll ever make is refusing to play that game, not with words, but with boundaries. And once you operate from that place, calm, self-governed, unattached to needing approval, you become untouchable. Because you finally understand that love isn't proven through pain. It's revealed through how safe you feel being seen. And any woman who uses truth as a dagger instead of a bridge doesn't deserve your vulnerability. She deserves your distance, permanently. Number 8, you're too emotional. This is one of the most damaging phrases a man can hear, not just because of what it says, but because of what it implies. It tells you that your emotions are invalid, that your reaction isn't real, that your pain is dramatic. It trains you to suppress the very thing that keeps you sane, your ability to feel and process. When she says this, it's not because you've done something irrational, it's because your feelings are inconvenient. Your sadness, your disappointment, your frustration, they make her uncomfortable, so instead of listening, she labels you. And if you're not grounded in who you are, you start internalizing it. You start thinking your emotional sensitivity is weakness, that being aware of your inner world makes you less of a man, that needing clarity or peace is somehow feminine. So you start bottling it up. You stop talking. You start lying when people ask how you're doing. You smile through exhaustion. You become a version of yourself that's palatable, predictable, and numb. And the worst part is, you start getting praised for it. People say you're so strong when you're actually suffocating. But strength isn't silence, it's presence. It's feeling your pain, understanding your limits, and choosing actions aligned with clarity, not chaos. And that only happens when you stop surrounding yourself with people who punish you for being human. You don't need to be emotionally void to be respected. You just need emotional discipline, and there's a difference. Emotional discipline means you feel everything, but you respond with intention. It means you can grieve, rage, love, and still make rational decisions. And the moment you embrace that, you stop being reactive. You stop snapping, over-explaining, defending. You start observing. You let people reveal themselves. You protect your peace without suppressing your truth. And here's where it gets powerful. When you own your emotional world, you stop seeking approval for your reactions. You stop giving women the power to define how you're allowed to feel, because your emotions aren't up for debate. They're data, they're messages, and any woman who labels them as too much doesn't deserve access to the parts of you that feel the deepest. You don't win by pretending you're unbothered. You win by mastering the art of feeling everything without being ruled by anything. And that mastery doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. Because now you can hold space for pain without losing control. You can set boundaries without guilt. You can walk away without rage. That's real power. And when you live like that, when your emotions serve you instead of destroy you, no one can manipulate you with shame ever again. So if she says, "You're too emotional," you look her in the eye and walk away. Not to prove anything, but to protect everything you've built inside. Because that emotional world, that's your compass. That's where your clarity lives. That's where your legacy begins. And anyone who doesn't understand that has no place in the future you're creating. If you're tired of loving women who punish you for having a backbone, who call your standards control and your clarity insecurity, then you already know the truth. No one is coming to save you. And if you keep ignoring these signs, if you keep justifying her disrespect because you're afraid of being alone, you will lose years you can't get back. That's why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men. The mental arsenal every man needs to walk into a relationship as a leader, not a servant. It shows you exactly how to stop chasing peace in people who only bring you pain, how to spot red flags in seconds, and how to build a life so grounded that no woman could ever shake it again. This isn't for passive men, it's for the ones ready to reclaim their power. So if you're done being emotionally blackmailed, if you're done being loyal to women who don't respect you, go to the pinned comment right now and grab the blueprint before it's gone. Comment the Stoic Blueprint. If you're done settling, like this video so more men can be saved from the traps you escaped, and subscribe so we can build a generation of men who never trade their self-worth for a relationship again.